Hey, Bethany, do people have to that come on have to agree to that like they do a regular Zoom, or does that just happen on webinars?
Agree to what?
The recording thing, like you do on a regular Zoom?
I think like attendees, you're saying?
Hmm.
I don't know. Did everyone that was a panelist, did you guys all just get that notification?
I heard a thing, but anyway, we can figure this out later. Doesn't matter. What's up, everybody? Thanks everybody for being here. We're kind of doing a new thing today for those of y'all that have been here a couple times before. We added all of our clients as panelists on the Zoom webinar so they can come on and have video and interact and ask them questions and whatnot. Everybody else that's not a client, you're just in general viewing population. So you can view and type and chat and whatnot. We'll tinker with this a few times. If you've attended several of these, you know we're wildly experimenting with different setups and technical things and whatnot. So you'll see some changes as we go. So thanks everybody for being here. Welcome in. Let's start with this. So last week I shared a book that I'm in the middle of reading. Actually, I finished it 2 days ago, and it's called The New Gold Standard. It's a book on Ritz-Carlton, and it's absolutely fantastic. It is. I shared a couple of my top takeaways last week. One is anticipating the customer's unstated need is the goal of every employee. Like most of us think, and I won't rehash everything I talked about last week, but most of us maybe intuitively have on our radar to anticipate like the stated needs, like things that people say they would want, but to go another layer deeper and look for the things they don't even say that they want. And they give lots of examples. I won't recap those, but that's probably the one, not the singular big idea of the book written by the author, but one of my biggest takeaways is that, and all that means, and all the examples I give for it. This week I finish it up, and this is one tactical, practical takeaway that I took away from it. And actually, it kind of combines with an idea I got from another book called "What Radical Husbands Do," or something to that effect. It's written by a guy named, his last name is Campbell. Really good book. And it's this. It is starting a "What do they like" list. And I did the first one I've done this on. Actually, the only one I've done this on really intentionally so far is my wife Stacy. And I just literally keep a Google note on my phone, a little note file right here at the top right called "What Stacy Likes." And anytime, like, let me give you an example of this. Anytime we're at a restaurant or we're out, or she mentions something, or whatever, like if it's something like, "Oh, she likes that," I just literally just write it down. And it could be stuff I've known for a decade. We've been married for 14 years this year. But when it comes time to give a gift, like at Christmas or a Mother's Day or all the different days that exist, the gifts give on, or I just want to do something special for her, I won't be able to remember anything. I'm like, what does she like? I don't know what she likes. But then I look at my list and there's 50 things there. So the Ritz does this for all of their clients, like all of their customers that stay at their hotel. They keep basically a CRM of what they like. And they don't just look for things that they say they like. They'll look for unstated likes as well. Meaning, this is one example I read towards the end of the book, if what do they call it? A guest, I guess, is sitting in the hotel restaurant, and they told the story that this happened, and a waiter walks by with a particular appetizer and drink on the plate, and that person's waiter, the person who looked at the plate, noticed they were looking at it, and they kind of had a little side conversation of, "Oh, that looks good." That was it. They didn't say anything. They didn't even interact with the waiter, but the waiter saw them looking at it and making a positive comment on it. So the next night when they sat down for dinner, they just brought them that. They're like, "Hey, I noticed that this was something you're interested in and that you looked at and y'all liked and we're talking about. So I just went ahead and got it for you." Like that kind of stuff is absolutely mind blowing. And I say mind blowing, like as a customer, that just practically never happens. Like it sometimes happens with a spouse or a family member, maybe if they're really paying attention, but most of the time your Amazon gift list and gift cards happen. But going above and beyond like that is total next level. So this is one of my practical takeaways. I started a list of things Stacy likes. So this Christmas, I had a list of like 50 things, and all this is, food preferences and drinks she likes and vacation spots and activities and just anything that comes up throughout normal life, I jotted on the list. When it came time for Christmas, like I just looked at my list and bought 3 things on it. I bought 3 things surrounding those ideas. So I knew one thing she liked from Thanksgiving. We'd gone back to where I'm from, and we live on the coast, on the Gulf Coast in Alabama is where I grew up. We'd go back to my parents' house, and we always go out to a seafood restaurant because it's right on the coast. There's always good seafood. And she's like, "Oh, we got to go to the place we go and get gumbo." And I was like, oh yeah, she loves gumbo. So I wrote seafood gumbo down on the list. So come Christmas time, I was trying to find ideas for her. So I found a place in New Orleans who has amazing seafood gumbo that makes like homemade there at their place gumbo and then freezes it and ships it around the country. So on Christmas Day, I pulled out a package from the freezer, like totally wrapped, and entered this ice cold package. And it's like a gallon of gumbo, seafood gumbo. She actually ate some last night for the first time. So one of my number one takeaways from the book was to start a what do they like list. You can do this for customers as the immediate application for Ritz-Carlton. You can do it for employees. That's the immediate application for Ritz-Carlton as well. Those are the two they cover. But you can do this for friends, coworkers, your spouse, your kids. Literally just track the things they like. Keep a little note, pay attention for overtly said things, and pay attention for things that they express interest in. And share those things. And when it comes time to do something special, if it comes time for a welcome gift or a thanks for being with me for a year gift or a Christmas gift for your kid or spouse, just look at your list and buy from that. Come up with a creative idea around it. So that's the Ritz-Carlton book. My number one takeaway, number one big concept is anticipating their unstated needs. And number two is start a what do they like list for your clients, your coworkers, for your employees, for your spouse, for your kids. Pick one, start with that and see how it goes for you. Okay, so welcome in everybody. Thanks for being here. I always start with like a book recommendation. A lot of times it has to do with marketing, but this one's more like team building, company building kind of stuff. And I've really gone deep down the hole of it and have really enjoyed it. We'll probably send it out as a book club here sometime this year. So I'm going to give away a copy of the two copies of the book today. One copy goes to one person that shares a link to this workshop with a friend. So I'm going to paste a link in chat, 3 different ways you can share it. So just tell us. Host and panelists. Here we go. Hey, by the way, hello, everybody. Nobody's talking in chat. Is chat working? Usually there's a ton of people talking. Where are y'all at today? Okay, here's you go. If you want to win a copy of the book, Bethany will order on Amazon and send it to you right now. Just share it with one person and say, once you've shared it, just say shared. Just say you shared it in chat and we'll stop in a minute and pick one winner from that group to actually send the book to. And I think we sent out 2 or 3 last week. So we'll send another couple this week. And I already read 2 books this week, really short books. So we'll pick one of those next week and share some cool takeaways from it. So click a link to share it on Twitter, click a link to share it on Facebook, or just literally take the link and text it to a friend or send it to somebody and say you shared it in chat and we'll send you a copy of the book. Okay, so let's start the meat of today with a cool, so we're going to get to the workshop on doing sales calls here in a minute. One more thing before then. This is really fun. And I'm curious to know in chat, if you, maybe tell me in chat, is this your first time to be at Shop Talk? This is what we call this, or have you been before? So put first time or put how many times in chat you've been here before, just to get an idea. I keep referencing past Shop Talks, but maybe this is a lot of first timers. So that's cool. First time, once before. Will, you work here, so you've actually hosted one with me before. That's good. All right, so first time. I'll stop talking about previous Shop Talks. Okay, so before we get to workshop, I want to share one of our core values as a company is transparency. Just sharing what's working for us is what it looks like to you guys most of the time. So we did a test last week, or Ben did actually. Say hi, Ben.
Everybody.
Ben says hey. So Ben runs our Facebook ad funnel. He every day buys ads, optimizes the funnel. The number one goal is to generate clients from people that didn't know we existed yesterday, and today they become customers, which is extremely difficult. So he's just working on that for the last 9 months, doing practically nothing but that. He's always running tests and experiments. And before we get to the workshop, I'll just share an experiment we ran in the last week that was really cool and had a really cool result. And also one person that guesses which test won will win a copy of Ritz-Carlton book as well. So share it, have a chance to enter. Guess which test won, option A or option B, and I'll go over each option here in a minute, and you'll win a copy of the book as well. So 2 copies, one to the share and one to the winner. Okay, so two different forms. This is, I'll actually maybe in a minute share a link to the whole funnel, and you can walk through it yourself to see what this looks like real time. But there's 2 different funnels or 2 different forms. The main funnel is you basically come to a page, click a button to schedule a call, but before you schedule the call, you answer a handful of questions. And if you're like, if the call won't be worth your while, it just says, hey, this call is not worth your time based on the answers, just here's some resources. And if the call is worth your time, then it'll give you an option to schedule the call. So that's kind of the basic flow. You hit a page, you answer some questions in we use Typeform, just a form building software. And then based on your answers, you may or may not get to schedule the call. That makes sense? So Ben was testing which form would work. We've been run option A for, I don't know how long, Ben, months. Have we tested that since, I don't know, anytime in Q4?
Yeah, that's been live for
probably 2 months at least, that version.
There's been several thousand people that have come to that page, several thousand people that have started the form and submitted the form and whatnot. So yeah, option A has been running a long time. Option B is a new one. So let me walk you through option A, then option B, and you can guess which one you think win. Don't guess yet. You haven't seen the questions. You can't guess yet. None of these count. Wait until I go over it. Okay, option A. This is the one that's been running forever. This is the control. 13 total questions. It starts with, if you kind of zoom in, you can see at the top. I'll point up here so I'm not looking down. First name, last name, email, phone number, website, and then it gets to like questions about what stage is your business at, what do you sell, that kind of stuff. And then it has an option, like if you want to talk to us immediately, like we'll call you right now, or if you want to schedule it for later. So that's the basics of option A that's been running for a long time. Option B is this, 9 total questions, so fewer questions by 4. The email collected first in a separate form. Oh, yeah. So when you click on the page, I guess there's a pop-up or something, Ben, and they type their email and then they go to the ad.
Yeah, the email redirects you to a second form and it carries the information through. So there's actually a redirect happening.
So you go to a page, you click a button, it says, hey, what's your email? You enter your email and then you go to the form. So, but the email's not in the form. You get your first name, what's your business address, what's your website address, a bunch of questions about your business. And then at the very end, it asks you for your contact number. So in this form, you can actually look here at cell 4 is where the phone number happens. In this one, it's answer number 8 is where the cell phone happens. That's the major shift. You ask for the cell phone at the bottom versus the top. And there's a few other little modifications as well. Okay, so A is 13 questions, cell phone at the bottom. B is 9 questions, or no, I'm sorry. Option A, 13 questions, cell phone at the top. Option B, 9 questions, cell phone at the bottom. That's the major difference in the two. And there's a few other minor things as well. So which one? Okay, starting now, you have to guess. One person that guesses right, and I'll reveal the answer in a minute, will win a copy of the book. All right, last week, everyone got it wrong.
Pretty much everyone's saying B. Kyle's alone with A.
I like it. And Kyle might be onto something here. What's the quality of the applicant, which is takes a little longer to actually test. We can maybe test by show ups or something. Option B. Yeah. Okay. So we got like 90% option B, and you are correct. But look at the difference. It is a substantial difference. We should have asked A or B and by how much. We should have done a Price is Right type of setup. Right. So the form that asked for the cell phone number last converted 74% of people that started the form to a submission. So for the 115 visitors have been there, and we've gotten 85 submissions. On the other form, of the last 100 people that submitted, there were 52 submissions. So 33 more leads to talk to on a sales call, which we're going to talk about what to say on the call today. 33 more people just from changing a few things around on the form. Mm-hmm. Like that's pretty substantial. Here's a screenshot of the stats from Typeform that Ben took this morning. We've been running Form A for a while, so it's got a total of 1,700 visitors to it. You see at the top here, 52.3% conversion rate. Can y'all see my cursor, by the way? Yeah. Okay. So 52.3% conversion rate on Form A. That's the 13 questions, cell phone at the top. So at the start. Form B, that's the new one, 139 visitors, 85 submissions, 73%. So 21%, like, what is that? Like actual increase of conversion rate, a difference of 30 or so calls for every 100 visitors. So that's a substantial difference. The point is this, like test crap and still the stuff we test. If you have a book a call funnel, like if part of your process of becoming a customer of yours, if you're running a coaching business or course business or an agency or something, usually you have a sales call in the mix, test this, change around where you ask for the information. We didn't get rid of the email collection. We actually put it in a pop-up and then, oh crap. And then, oh yeah, here. So actually, I'll give you a link if y'all are interested in this, just type show me or something in chat and I'll put a link to the top of the funnel. Ben set one up just so y'all can go through it. You just kind of want to see the page, click a button. And assuming, Ben, this is option B, like you'll see the email.
It is option B. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
There are 3 things I want people to notice too. One is we collect first names so you can address people personally throughout it. We tell them like, thank you. And then we tell them the reason why we're asking the information. So it's like a totally different format.
Yeah. Cool. So I just put a link in chat and you can just click it. A couple caveats before you click it. So stop clicking on the page if you've clicked on it so far. One is this is we did duplicate a bunch of stuff and just move it over just for y'all. Made a few little minor modifications so it makes sense coming from Shop Talk. Also, feel free to funnel spy, funnel hack this funnel, go through it and look at what we're doing. However, if you schedule an actual call, there is like a form that says, I'm just funnel hacking. That way you don't take up room in our calendar for you're literally not going to show up to the call. So don't do that. Just put, I'm just funnel spying, and we'll keep it and just like de-emphasize it so we don't like take up sales calls with it. But many of you here are probably really good candidates for our coaching. So if you go through the funnel process, you're like, whoa, like I love this funnel and I'm interested in coaching, then go and book a call. And Will's here and Drew's here and a few folks from the coaching team are here that'll talk to you. So go through it, audit it. If nothing else, go through it and check out the form. Notice the progression of questions. Notice how it went from 52% to 75% by the order of questions being changed. And if you're interested in coaching, book a call. If not, feel free to book a call, but just mark on it, I'm just funnel hacking, and we'll just like set you to the side and not take up room. Does that make sense? Yeah. Cool. Any questions on that? So by the way, we invited all of our clients to come and be a panelist, which means you can see their face. And then people that aren't, like general audience, is just in chat and stuff. So audience or clients, by the way, if you have any questions about this specifically, feel free to unmute and ask if you have a follow-up on this. We're not going to spend too long on this. I want to move forward, but yeah, anything come to mind immediately that you're interested in or want to know more about from this? Luba Marine, good to see y'all, by the way. 2 days in a row, I feel like, or twice this week. Cool. All right. So Ben, do we have a winner? So we're giving 2 copies away, one person that shared and one person that guessed right. Do we have a winner so far we want to announce? And Bethany will mail some books out.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the first shares was Jen Andrews for sharing the link.
Awesome.
So Jen Andrews.
Jen, message Bethany. Or you can email her, bethany@growthtools.com, or just DM her in Zoom and give her your address and she'll send a copy to you. All right, who we got for Which Test 1 winner?
And Which Test 1, we have Arzu Zahir, picked option B, and actually even put a little description asking less questions is easier for the customer. So
cool. Awesome. So message Bethany at Growth Tools, or DM and Zoom, and she'll get you a copy of the book. Thanks for playing along. Do y'all like starting with this, by the way? Is that fun to see stuff behind the scenes? It's like super tactical stuff that's working for us. Is that helpful? Yeah. Cool. We'll keep doing that. Yes. Forces Interaction. What's up, Giorgio? Good to see you. All right. So let's go into workshop time. So today I'm going to walk you through, the title is How to Host a Killer Sales Call with 4 Simple Questions. How many of you have done a sales call in the past? How many of you, maybe let me ask that question. How many of you do phone sales to sell your product or need to do it to sell your product? Just put yes in chat or raise your hand. Curious if there's a lot of you that are doing it, have done it before. Yeah. Okay. So second question, how many of you are confident in the way that you do your sales call? Like, I feel good about it. It converts really well. And I'm just looking for a few tips. Or are you high confidence or low confidence in the way you're doing your sales call currently? Super scary. I hate it. Elizabeth might need to be kicked out. She's interested in other things. Could be better. Looking for tips. Pretty good and can improve for sure. Medium confidence. Good. Okay. So hopefully, Beth, I'm going to remind me, Ben, at the very end, I want to do a little poll again of how confident are we now afterwards. And ideally it moves up by a couple percentage points, maybe 10 or 20 percentage points just from getting the information. And the only way you'll get super confident is just doing tons of reps, which, by the way, we have Will DeShazo on today. He's one of our main enrollment advisors. He's done how many calls, Will? How many sales calls have you done over the years?
Dude, I think that I've done, I did this math not long ago. It's almost 1,000 a year. So like over, or like 1,500 a year. So like 6,000 or 7,000 sales calls over 4 years.
So Will knows how to do a sales call. He's done many of them. And I'm going to present, well, I'll talk about this in a minute. Let's zoom out for a second before we jump in. So key question for all of us to keep in mind. It's great to get into this tactical stuff we're going to get in today. But at a high level, what we want to do is very much know how customers happen for us. Like how do Luba, Marine, Wendy, Tom, and Don, how do you get customers? Like if it's a sales call, great. If there's emails, great, whatever. But all that is fancy forms of procrastination. If it doesn't come up, if it doesn't add up to, you have a regular repeatable system to get customers. So let's walk through the very much foundational principles of this. First, you have to attract leads. If people don't know you exist, you can't tell them about your product. You can't help them. So you have to attract leads. and then you have to monetize those leads. You have to have a conversion mechanism in place to turn them into leads. Now, the truth is most of the eyeballs you attract to your site, your sales call, your lead magnet to you won't buy immediately. But if you capture their contact information and build trust with them over time, and then occasionally send them call to actions to get on a call or buy your product, they will buy. So there's three main pillars to any business: Starbucks, Marine's business, my business, every business that exists. You have to attract quality leads. You have to build trust with those leads so they'll buy from you. And you have to have a simple way to convert them to customers. Does that make sense? So you have to have these three things in place. Now, this is like a diagram. We won't go into all this today. Maybe we'll do a shop talk eventually on just this whole system and kind of walk over it. But what I want to show you is this is what we install for clients. Like every marketing plan a client on here has right now is adding up to this system being installed. A really repeatable system to generate leads, a repeatable, easy system to run to build trust with them, and a simple way to convert those leads and those eyeballs into clients. So there's three simple sales funnel, a couple basic content plans, and then a handful of lead generation mechanisms that over the course of several years will install. And as a result, you have a repeatable, growable, scalable business. So all that to say, the workshop today, I'm going to walk you through how to have a sales call that's specifically focused on the monetization piece. Meaning, if you have no leads and no eyeballs, it's great to learn how to do the sales call, stay on, learn, because eventually you'll need it, but you have a lead problem, not a sales call problem. If you have great leads, but no trust, you don't have a sales call problem, you have a trust problem, which usually equals content. You have a content problem. But if you have hundreds of leads coming in every month, thousands of leads coming every month, you have great content that goes out and you get tons of raving fan responses to it, but nobody ever buys, you probably have a monetization problem, and the sales call training will be really helpful for you. And even if you don't, it'll probably be helpful, but know the bucket it fits in. And in your mind, when you learn new things, whether it's from me or in a book or in a webinar or wherever it is, sort it in your head of what bucket it falls into, because you probably, and maybe we'll do a quick poll here right now. I don't know why it keeps doing that. My mouse like sends the slides crazy. Do a quick poll right here now. If you had to grade yourself on A, T, and M, attracting leads, building trust, or monetizing, which of those three, A, T, or M, do you feel like you need the most help with? Like which one grades the lowest if you were just to scale, A, B, C, or D, like school grades on those? Would it be attracting, building trust, monetization? In fact, it doesn't have to be monetization. I'm just curious how you would grade yourself currently. Monetization, trust, attract, David, Jay, attract, Yvonne, attracting, speed, great name, T, trust, Giorgio, attract, great, cool. So we'll walk through and kind of zoom back out at the very end and kind of walk through the other things as well. So we already talked about, are you confident in your ability to host sales call? My goal is by the end of the next 20, 30 minutes of the meat of the workshop is that you feel more confident in monetizing than you did before, more confident in having a sales call than you did before. So we're in two parts of the training. I'm going to host the first part. Will's going to host the second part. I'm going to walk you through the sales script that I use. This is a great sales script as the founder. It's a really good sales script for a sales team that works for your team. Most of you aren't in that boat. Most of you are on the sales call yourself, and it can be slightly modified for salespeople that you hire to use. Will and Brian and Drew and Alex use a slightly modified version of this. But if you're speaking, like, you will almost always convert higher than anyone else because it's you that you're selling, especially if you're selling a coaching course type of product and the story is built around you. You will probably almost always convert better than anybody else because you are the face of the thing. And ultimately the trust is in you, the person that they were attracted to, and the person, I love chat sometimes, and the person whose content attracted them. So let's walk through the sales script. So key item, you don't have to be great at sales in order to have a successful sales call that converts. What you have to be able to do is pass the Starbucks test. Sam Hill, our director of sales at Growth Tools, talks about this all the time. He says, if you can sit down at Starbucks with a friend and just discover what their problem is, ask them a handful of questions to learn what their true problem is, and then give them the solution of what to do for that, you can have a sales call. Literally just sit down at Starbucks and have a conversation with somebody. So imagine you go to church with somebody and they're having a problem with whatever your thing is. Like for me, let's say they have a business and it's not growing as much as they want it to. if I can sit down at Starbucks, ask them 5 to 10 questions about that over 30 minutes, and then the next 30 minutes, kind of walk them through what they should do, you can do a sales call. And the script is based on that. That's the minimum. You need to be able to converse with a human and give them a thing to do. The heart of this script is based on 3 books that I've read that have heavily influenced the way I look at sales. We talked about one. We actually had a book club for clients a couple of days ago called on the book Expert Secrets. So sent out to all the clients, walk through it. So a lot of you that went through that will notice a lot of familiar things in the script part. Although we're going to cover objections today, so stick around for that because it'll be brand new. Another book, one of my favorites, The Coaching Habit, and the last one I literally just read today, but I've heard reference to it and I've been taught by it for a while, but it's called The Dan Sullivan Question. So those 3 books, mesh them together and you got this script. So let's go over the 4 questions. I'm going to give you the 4 questions right now. These are kind of dumbed down versions of the questions. And then I'm going to walk you through each question in detail so you understand what's going on there and the actual question I would ask. Okay, so 4 main questions. What do you want? What's the hard part? What do you have already? And do you want me to help you? Those are the 4 main questions. So what do you want? That's having them paint the vision for what they want a year from now. What is that? What's the hard part? What's the obstacle keeping you from just inevitably coming there now? What do you have at your disposal already? Like what skills, what resources, what time, what expertise, what people do you have currently? What do we have sitting around the shop that we can just use to knock down those obstacles, accomplish your vision? And lastly is like, do you want me to help you do that? And if so, like, here's the product, bye. Okay, so let me walk you through each one of those things. First of all, what do you want? So here's the question. Imagine, let's see, I'm going to pick on somebody. So let's use Heather in chat, or I can see Heather's face. You're on the top of my screen. So I'll talk to you for this. So imagine me and Heather get on a call. And the primary product I'll sell on a sales call, just personally, is a product we only sell 1 or 2 of a year. We never talk about it publicly at all. It's called One Day Year. And we usually only sell it to clients, but occasionally we'll have a new lead come in that's get this. But this is primarily for people already doing 100, 200,000. Well, the last client we had in was doing like $20 million a year, but usually for people already with traction, moving forward. And they want me, for whatever reason, to personally coach them. Literally Voxer access to me. We talk every day. We meet once a week, like really, really high touch from me personally, and really nobody else, but maybe the leadership team help as well. So we would get on a call for that. And I would say, let's say me and Heather got on a call for that product. And she's like, I'm interested in that. Let's talk about it. I was like, great. So first of all, good to meet you. Second, question I want to ask you, fast forward a year, fast forward to January the 26th, 2023. What's changed with your business and with your life? So much so that the progress would blow you away and you would be totally happy. Like, what is that? Paint the picture for me of what that is. And she'd answer the question. My goal of that question, the objective of that question, is for me to be able to say back to her exactly what she wants in a more clear and a more compelling way than she told me. Meaning, as she's talking, I'm prodding in, I'm asking follow-up questions. I'm asking 5 to 10 follow-up questions to understand literally what it is that Heather wants. Does she need more leads? Does she want to grow the business from 10K a month to 50K a month? Does she just want to remove herself from the business and put a CEO in place and they grow the bit? Like, literally just what do you want? And I'll ask her questions and follow-up questions like, tell me more about that. Why is that important? And what else? Generally 5 to 10 questions to fully paint the picture in my own head of exactly what Heather wants. And then once I feel confident, I can repeat back to her what it is that she wants. I'll move on to the second question. So this is the goal. Like, this question gets her to articulate to me what her goal is. So I will spend up to 30 minutes just on that question, fully understanding what it is that Heather wants. The Dan Sullivan books goes in details on this. I'm going to encourage all of y'all about it. It's a super short. I literally read it the whole book in an hour today. This is really fantastic. And I found this to be true as well. That part of the call, if done while you're listening and truly wanting to understand what it is that they want, will give them breakthrough on its own, because they've never sat back to truly think about that question and truly have someone dig in with them to understand, for them to even understand what they want. And for you to articulate it back to them clearly is extremely powerful. Okay, so then you move on to question number 2. So now you have a picture in your head. Imagine you're doing the sales call. I'm talking with Heather. I understand now that, let's just make up a scenario. I understand now that Heather's at $15,000 a month. She's feeling confident in that. She's got a small team of people, and that over the next year, she wants to grow that to $50,000 a month. And she wants to have a full leadership team in place, like 2 or 3 main leaders on the team where she can dial back her work hours to 10 hours a week so that her and her husband can travel around Europe for the year. Let's say that's the scenario that she paints to me, which sounds pretty good. So I might ask her next, like, that's like, I love that. So second question, Heather, like what, here's the question. What's standing in your way or holding you back from that now? Like, what are the main obstacles? Why won't you just inevitably get to that a year from now? And she might say something like, well, good question. Haven't thought about that. I know where I want to go. What's stopping me from getting there? It might be, right now we're bringing in 3 clients a month. And if you just run the math in a spreadsheet, I need to be bringing in 12 clients a month. And if I do that steadily for 9 months in a row, I'll hit my goal, and I'll definitely be bringing enough profit to hire those couple people. And I'll probably need some leadership training or something. So that's probably an obstacle as well, to be able to lead them well and be able to leave and not micromanage them and all that stuff. Since it's my face, we're still marketing, but not me actively doing it. So yeah, maybe the 2 obstacles are growing from 3 clients a month to 12, and then actually learning to lead a team really well so that they can like do better without me than with me. I'm like, great. So those are the 2 obstacles. So you generally will spend 3 to 5 minutes just asking questions about this. A technique that I'll use for this is called the 5 deep technique, where I'll ask Heather why up to 5 times. Like I might say, what's standing in your way? She's like, well, like, I don't know. I've just hired these contractors to do, my lead generation, and they just kind of suck. Like I tell them what to do and they just can't do the basics. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's by the way, key indicator that you haven't got the real obstacle yet is when they blame other people. So you want to ask them why and variations of why until they actually give a reason that's them. So that might sound like, well, it's the contractors. I'm like, oh, interesting. So like, what's going on there? It's like, well, like hiring, I've been hiring people off Upwork, and I've tried these little freelance sites, and they're just like, I don't know. I just don't feel confident in it. I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay. So like, if you could have whatever you wanted there, what would it be? Dig until Heather eventually says, you know what, ultimately, there's 2 things I suck at. I'm really great at product. I can get people results all day long. I believe in my product, but just generating demand for the product and then getting A quality people on the team. I'm just bad at that. Like, fantastic. We found the 2 problems. She took ownership of it. So we know they're the real problems. Now we can, in a little bit, we can actually address those. So by the end of questions, so the objective of this is to be able to say back to them exactly what they want in clear and compelling way. So at the end of the first 2 questions, you know what they want, and you know the 2 obstacles, the handful of obstacles, usually 2 to 3 obstacles standing in the way. Again, now you are somewhere between 20 and 35 minutes in the call. And you can, as you do 6,000 calls like Will has, you can get to that a little quicker and help people along. You get to question number 3. And this is the question where you stop and take inventory of what they have currently. Meaning, me and Heather are going to look around her house, look around her figurative shop, and say, all right, what resources, talents, skills do you have to help you? Like, what are you good at? And she might say, well, like my previous job, I was an ad buyer for an agency. So like, I'm pretty good at buying Facebook ads. And I'm like, okay, what else? She's like, well, I got one team member who's awesome. Like she can do anything with minimal communication and is amazing. Now, what else you got? Well, like I'm really good at content. People love my content and product design. Like the products I put out, people get results and rave about them. Like, great. Those are the 4 things we got. We got ad buying experience. We got this and this and this. I've taken inventory of what it is that Heather has that we might be able to use to take down the obstacles and reach the goal. Objective is to identify the things they already have at their disposal so we can use them to reach the goal. Okay, at this point, you're not going to go to question number 4. You now know what they want. You know the obstacles standing in their way, and you know the basic skills, resources, and tools they have and they're proficient at that we could potentially use and arrange in a particular order to accomplish their goal. So at this point, you're going to stop and say back to them exactly in your words what they've said to you. You just summarize everything you've heard so far. So I might say to Heather, like, Heather, so let's stop for a minute. Let me just make sure I'm 100% tracking. What I've heard you say, what you've told me is that you want to grow the business by 4x over the next year because you want to have enough profit to be able to hire a couple key, really good people, not Upwork contractors in Bangladesh, but like really good people that are really good at what they're doing, that live pretty close to me, so that you and your husband, you can dial down your work hours to 10 hours and y'all can take that trip you've all just wanted to take. Is that right? You're like, yeah, that's it. And the reason you haven't got there yet is because generating consistent lead flow and actually hiring good people, you just kind of suck at it. You haven't done really all that well. You're like, yeah, that's right. Great. Okay. So, and it looks like all the things you're good at, like you're good at Facebook ads, and whatever the other things I mentioned, you get good content and your product is amazing. Is that right? I'm like, yeah, that's right. Like, all right. So at that point, Heather should feel like for one of the first times ever, somebody sat down, listened to her, actually understood even more clearly what she wants than she does, understood the things holding her back, and said them back to her in a clear way that even gave her an aha moment just by realizing it and articulating it that way. Is that making sense? Ben, how you feeling about that? Are you tracking with that?
I love it.
Have you done a sales call, Ben? You have in your previous
Yeah.
business, didn't you? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I got more
Yeah, I find
questions,
like
but go ahead.
the summarizing and pausing and just making sure that you heard them correctly is definitely the
Yeah.
key part.
Yeah. Up to this point, you should have talked like 10% of the time, and they've talked 90% of the time. If you've been talking the whole way through this, you're doing it completely wrong. Like you should be learning all about them. And almost every sentence you've said should have been a question up to this point. It's really easy as the domain expert to get into advice giving mode. The coaching habit calls it the advice monster, where you just want to like 4 seconds into them talking, you want to tell them 700 things to do. And honestly, you don't know what you're talking about yet. You don't know enough about them to tell them what to do yet. It's bad advice if you start talking now. So the first half to 3/4 of the call is simply learning about them, what their problem is, what their goal is, and the main things they have at their disposal to solve it. Then you get to question number 4, which is the easiest question by far, which is, all right, based on all that, Heather, again, based on what I've just retold you, is that right? You're like, yeah, that's right. I'm like, okay, so based on that, do you want me to help you? That's the whole question. And you just shut up for Heather to answer. And she's like, yeah, I want you to help you. That's why I'm on the call. I'm like, great. So fantastic. So the goal of that question is for them to say yes, which gives you permission to present your offer to them in a way that solves their problem. So that gets you into the final part, which isn't a question, but it's just closing the deal. So this is how you close. 5 simple parts. Number 1, I would tell Heather, great, this is how it works. So my fee is $1,000 a month. Will accomplish your goal of 4xing revenue so that you can dial down your hours and go on that trip by using my ATM system. So there's 3 main components, and I'm just going to teach my process here, by the way. I'll do a quick little summarized version of what it would look like for me, but I would encourage all of you to boil down whatever the process is you do for your client to like 2 to 4 simple steps from a client perspective that makes sense. So I would just tell Heather like, hey, what I'll walk you through is ATM, meaning we're going to hit a minimum of 1,000 leads per month. You got to be there to hit your goals. So we got to generate 1,000 leads. Right now you're at 7. We got to get to 1,000. So we got like 2 or 3 tactics that we're going to walk through executing to get you there. And then we're going to go over T, which is building trust with them. We got one simple content plan that takes you an hour or less of work a week to do. And right now you're spending 17 hours on content. So we're just going to like pause all that and spend an hour on it, because that's the 80-20 of the whole thing. And then we're going to install 3 simple sales funnels in place so that those 1,000 people turn into 12 people at the end of every month. Like we'll walk you through each part of that. That's the process. So for that money, for your $1,000 a month, you're going to get, and at this fill in the blank, you're going to list the 3 to 4 pillars of your product. Like what are the 3 to 4 main deliverables of what you have? So for us, that would be first, you're going to get a 7-figure roadmap, meaning I'm going to create your 3-year vision, your revenue goals by month between now and then. I'm going to create your offer, go over your offer if you have one, re-articulate it back to you in a better way, your avatar profile of exactly who you're going to target, and make a detailed step-by-step marketing plan to accomplish that. That's pillar number 1, your 7-figure roadmap. And before we do literally anything, literally your clock doesn't even start in coaching until we do all that work, get it drafted, and you're like, hell yeah, let's go. I'm ready to go. Let's go do that. Then we start working. And then I'll just walk her through the other 3 pillars as well. We won't go into all that now, but there's 4 main pillars of the product. And then I'll end with, so Heather, would you like to pay with a MasterCard or Visa? I don't ask her, do you have any questions? I don't ask her, how does that sound? I don't just stop talking. I literally ask her, Heather, would you like to pay with MasterCard or Visa? And either 1 or 2 things will happen. Either she'll say, I'd love to pay with MasterCard. Here you go. When do we start? I'm like, great. Now take the card number down. We start tomorrow at 10 p.m. We'll have an onboarding call. Or most likely, she'll have an objection or a clarifying question of some sort. And in part 2 here in a second, Will's going to answer the most popular objections: money, time, or decision maker. I don't have enough money. Well, I need to talk to my spouse, or it's not the right time to do it. So there's good best practices of how to walk through those things. That's the sales script. Makes sense. So when I first started using this, I had 3 sales calls within a couple months. Of those 3 clients, all 3 closed from these simple 4 questions, generated $75,000 in sales total. $25,000 person, 3 clients, 75 grand just from those 4 questions. So at a high level, let's go through it real quick. We'll go to objection handling. What do you want? Fast forward a year, wave a magic wand. What is blowing you away and you're so happy that's different in your business and life as a result of that? Let them paint the picture clearly of what they want. Part 2, or question 2, what's the hard part? Like, what's keeping you from getting that now? Dig down using the 5 deep technique until you identify those 3 to 5 obstacles. Number 3, what do you have already? Like, what are you good at? What are your skills, your resources? Do you have money? Do you have time? Are you good at a thing? Like, take an inventory real quick, then stop and summarize it all back to them in their own words, using your words, what they've said in your own words. Number 4, do you want me to help you with that? And then number 5, show them the offer. Oh, and this is a key piece of this. I forgot to say this. When you're doing number 3 and 4 here, we'll do that by and you walk through your process, and for that money you'll get and you list out the pillars of your product. Attach those, don't just read off the things you have. Attach those things to the problems they have that are stopping them and the vision that they have. So I might say for Heather, we'll do that, but like for that money you'll get. And then pillar number 3 is unlimited coaching. Like that's the 3rd pillar of our product. And I say, Heather, for you, this is going to be key. And I might even start with that for Heather. If really what she wants is day to day, how you doing? What are you stuck on? And she day to day wants to be able to send things to me. I'm going to stop and just talk. I'm going to blow up that pillar way more than and just mention the others in passing. So you have to attach what you do and what they'll get to the obstacles and to the vision they have, not just read your stuff. You'll get into just verbal vomit mode if you do that. So attach that to the things they have. Okay. All right. How's that sounding? Are you okay? Let's pause there. We'll go objection handling in a minute. Will's going to walk over our 3 biggest objections. Are you more confident or less confident in hosting a sales call now than when we started? Does it at least like make sense in your head? Good. Moral woo. That's good, I guess. More confident. Yes. Luba, much more. Good. All right. So Will's going to do objection handling now. I'll ask him some questions. He'll answer them. And then I'm going to give you a 1-pager script after Will's done. Literally the sales call on 1 page with all the talking points that you can print this out and put it on your desk. And when you get to a sales call, you just literally pick it up, skim through it, and use that to guide the call. And I'll give you a link to the objection handlers that Will's about to go over. Like those are 2 pieces of paper you print out, and it is the map to your sales call going forward. Yeah. Okay. So Will, I talked to Heather. I'll walk through how we do it, ATM. I'll walk through our 4 pillars, and I ask her, do you want to pay with MasterCard or Visa? And she's like, Brian, man, this sounds amazing. This is exactly what I want. But man, like 25,000. This is for a 1-day year product, by the way. I actually had somebody reach out today for it. So random. I was putting this together and they reached out about it. So maybe we'll have a call like that soon. And she says, yeah, but I just don't have the money. Like I can afford that. How do you handle that objection? That's the number 1 most popular objection. What do you do with it?
Never heard it before. Never. not once. I mean, I think the first thing before we get into each of these objections quickly, 15 seconds, is you got to realize, just like you said earlier, Brian, when you ask the why and they need to come to the conclusion, same idea here. Somebody throws an objection for you. I don't have the money isn't the real objection. Let's figure out what the real objection is. Sometimes it is, but let's really figure out what the real objection is, right? So any of these, to preface this, figure out what the real objection is. And before you do anything, like address it. So the first thing I would say is, hey, Heather, like, I get it. Like, yes, this is an investment to be made. You have gotten to where you are today by investing in yourself. Like you're not sleeping on $5,000, right? Like I get it. Understand, like let them see that, right? But I would go this direction with this one. I always say kind of like, hey, money, put the money aside, right? Like, let's just say you are sleeping on $5,000. Tell me, like, money aside, why do you feel confident this is the right thing for you? You know, go back to asking questions. Go back to them selling themselves on why, right? Like, hey, if you did have the $5,000, would this be a no-brainer for you, right? Like, go back to getting understanding of why they're pumped about this. And then if they say, yeah, you know, it's just this or that, I would have them like weigh the cost. This is something else that you can do. Like, is this and I would ask it this way, is this I don't have the money situation? Like literally, I'm negative right now. House is getting repoed. Don't know where I'm eating dinner tonight. Or is this I am afraid to let go of the money situation. Identify that, because if it's a, hey, I'm eating ravioli out of a can, like literally, you're not going to close the deal, dead deal, move on. Hopefully you help them on the call. But if it's a, no, I'm just scared, guess what you just found? I'm nervous, I'm fearful. That's the objection. It's not the money, right? So ask a series of questions to understand. They're telling you the money is the problem, but ask questions to understand what the real problem is. From there, you can go back to a closed loop, like Brian just said. Find the real objection, handle it. Visa or MasterCard, let's get you scheduled Tuesday.
All right, let me say that back to you, Will, to make sure I'm tracking. So you kind of just scooted the money thing out of the way. If I'm following you right, like Heather says, yeah, Brian, I just don't have the money. I'm like, okay. And literally in my mind, I'm like, okay, let's just move money to the side, because that's the only way to see if it's really money, or that's just a convenient way to not be rude and say no, or to cover over something else that might be embarrassing or she doesn't really want to say, is just to scoot it aside and ask deeper questions. And the question you mentioned was, let's just imagine for a minute that money isn't a problem. Is there any reason you wouldn't do this if you had $5,000 right this second to spend? Is that something close to that, the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Money aside, like, why is this the right program for you?
Oh, right. Why is it right? That's a good phrasing of it. So it's not, is it? It is, why is this the best program? Which gets her to talk deeper about why she wants it. So at the end of her answer to that, do I then go back to MasterCard or Visa? Or how do I close the loop back to buying?
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends on what she says, right?
Yeah.
And she's going to have some sort of hesitation more than likely. And if she says it is the right program, we're ready to go, then you say, well, then let's get started. Close the loop. Like, let's do this thing.
Well, here's an example. So a year ago, we had this lady come over to the house to measure our master bedroom closet, because we have wire shelving and it's just a train wreck in there. And Stacey's like, we need to get some like halfway coordinated shelving. So we had her over, she quoted it. It was like $7,000. And I'm like, in my head, like, could we pay $7,000? Sure. But I'm like, do I really have $7,000? Like I gave her a money excuse, but it wasn't that I didn't have access or couldn't just write her a $7,000 check. It was like, I just didn't really want to spend that money. But she took the money. She was like, yeah, it's just not in the budget right now, was I think the email or call that I gave to her. So if you were her in that situation, what do you do?
I would get back to what you actually want. Like, well, hold on a sec. Like, let's press pause on the money. Like, why do we have this conversation in the first place? What is it that you want? I want organization in my closet. Why do you want organization in your closet? Because it will make our marriage way better. How is your marriage suffering right now? Because we wake up in the morning and we yell at each other and we start the day on the wrong foot every single day. Do you go to your closet every single morning? Yes. Let's fix the closet. Where's the $7,000? Figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
So scoot the money to the side. Why is this the best fit for you? Why is this a good program for you? Let them talk deeper into that. And then go back to, all right, based on that, it sounds like you really want this. So do you want to enroll tomorrow or the next day? Something like that would be the right way to handle that. Cool. So the best way to handle the money objection is don't handle the money objection. Look underneath it to see if there's something else. Here's an assumption.
Yeah. Every objection is that way, Brian. Yeah.
Here's an assumption I've made on pretty much every sales call I've taken. Me and Sam have talked about this some. If you live in the first world and don't have a mental or physical handicap, you have the money or have access to the money. Meaning, what's in your driveway? What's hanging on your wall? Is it worth more or less than the cost of the program? If it's more than the cost of the program, you do have access if you really wanted it. Like you really wanted that $35,000 Honda, so you figured out some kind of way to get it. So that's my mindset. And that shifted just a few years ago of the money objection, because I would get called in the individual story of the person. But I told this on CEO Book Club earlier, Will, but it was like, how many calls have you had where at the beginning of the call, someone said, I'm not buying, I don't have the money, like it's impossible for me to buy, but by the end of the call, they full paid for the program?
Definitely a few. I mean, there's been multiple occasions I can think about where people have money objections, maybe at the beginning of the call, definitely at the end of the call for sure, you know, like no doubt. Absolutely.
So it's interesting just to think of scooting it over, asking why you want it, go deep there to see if there is another underlying problem. That's good. Okay, so let's move on to objection number 2. But I need to think about it. Heather's like, yeah, this sounds great. Like I'm all in. Like I love this. This sounds like exactly what I need. I'm like, great. So MasterCard or Visa, and would you like to start tomorrow? And she's like, well, yeah, yeah. I just need to think about it a little bit more. Like I don't make decisions this big. Like in the moment, I always like to think about it, pray about it, talk to my spouse about it, consult 17 people about it, and then make the decision. So yeah. So I'm just not ready right now.
Yeah. thinking about it is probably the most frustrating one because it's like, what are you talking about? What do you need to think about? So you do have to kind of you got to humble yourself and lay yourself down on this one and agree with them. Again, like recognize that they need to think about it. Agree with that. And I always tell people like, hey, I'll use this at the end of it, but I'll say, man, I have a friend that lives this motto. He says, are you going to talk about it or are you going to be about it? And he just lives that way. And I always love pointing back to that. Like, are you going to think about it or are we going to take action and like be about it? But I'll address and say, hey, look, I used to be the king of thinking about it, right? Like I would think about everything. I would overthink about going to dinner, right? But eventually I knew I needed to eat. So I don't want you to be paralyzed by thinking about it. I want you to take action. Let's talk about the specifics of what you want to think about. Like, what do you want to think about specifically? You need to nail that down from that.
Yeah, that's
right?
good.
What
I've given that
specifically-
objection so many times. I'm like, I don't know. I'll think about it a little bit more. Like, and honestly, what's happening for me internally, and here's the interesting thing: go through this process and this training as the person hosting the call, but intentionally go through sales processes yourself and examine what's happening in your own mind. Because then when you're having the call, you can step in their shoes and you can be way more effective. I don't know how many times I've said that I need to think about it, but really in my mind, I'm thinking like, I just don't know. Like, I'm not totally convinced of this from multiple angles. Like, I don't know. So Will asking the, well, what don't you know? You could probably ask that in a more compelling way than what don't you know in a passive aggressive way, but just helps me get clear. Like, what is it you need to think about specifically? So like for the closet, it might be, well, like, I'm not totally convinced that layout is quite right. Like we did 3 different versions. I'm still like, I don't know which one's which. To which she could have said all kind of things. She might say, great. So tomorrow at 4, meet me at this client's house and you can walk through theirs because theirs is just like what you're talking about. And I think that'll give you hands-on what you need. May or may not be the best way to handle that particular objection, but it would get me clear on what I wanted, which is what I was unclear of with the closet thing.
That's the key. The objection is not to think about it. It's I'm confused on which one I want. That's the real objection. So you just got it. So then you can pinpoint that and provide a solution, right? Also, a lot of times I like what whoever that was in the chat just said, like, let's think about it together. Tony, I think, said that.
Oh, yeah.
The version that I use in that situation to accomplish the same thing is, hey, usually when I'm thinking about a purchase, I end up considering 1, 2, or all 3 of these things. I'll think about the product, I'll think about the service, or I'll think about the pricing, the fees, the structure, the payment plans, all that stuff. Like, which one of those do you need to think about? And that's going to help you to identify the one thing as well. If they're like, I don't know what I want to think about specifically, deep blue ocean, blah, 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 then ask that second question and it'll peel the onion back a little bit more organically.
Hey, question Sebastian asked in chat, Will, at what point do you talk about guarantees around the product? So like we have an ROI guarantee for our coaching. So at what point do you bring that up in the pillars? Like when you're just talking about the product back in the main script, or do you handle that during objection handling, or how do you wield that?
I sprinkle that in, like I sprinkle, sprinkles on a cake. I'm
wondering where you're going with that analogy there.
Yeah.
But what are we sprinkling today?
I'm doing that all over the place. I'm doing that early on when they're like, oh man, I did this thing a while back and it just sucked. I had a terrible experience. It sucked. Oh, cool. Well, that's why we have this guarantee here.
Yeah.
I'll do that throughout the call. No doubt. An objection handling, if like the money is the big concern, I'm fearful. Dude, this is a literal no-brainer. We have a guarantee here. Worst case scenario, it's that you get your money back in 6 months or 3 months or whatever. So use it as it's needed.
Cool. All right, let's go to objection number 3. So Heather's like, this sounds great. One day your sounds exactly what I like. The price sounds right. Like I can afford that. Like I'm ready to go. And I'm like, great. So MasterCard or Visa. And she says, yeah, but I need to talk to my husband. Like I got to talk to my spouse. Like I can't just make this decision by myself. That's way too much money just to decide to do that on my own. So yeah, I'm gonna talk to my spouse and I'll get back with you later. Which is the ultimate blow off, by the way. I'll get back with you later.
Yeah. Don't ever let that happen.
Yeah.
You always need to end the call in your control on your terms. So, okay, yeah, let's get back later. Let's get back tomorrow at 2. How's that look for you? Right. Like, so always in on your control there. And there's some stuff with that get back later thing that is included in that bonus downloadable. So go download it. There's some really good stuff in there. This one is big. And in my opinion, Brian, this can be answered early on with, hey, is there anybody else in your business that needs to be here to make a decision together?
Ooh, yeah.
Answer this early on, y'all. If the spouse needs to be there, Tom, Dawn, if either of you guys need to be there, I need to get you both there on the call. let's end it. Let's pause. Let's respectfully have Tom on so that Don can make a decision with Tom, you know? So
and that could naturally come up in the question number 3 or question number 1. Like, what do you have already? Do you have a spouse that like works on this with you, or a business partner that's a part of the decision-making process of like literally the discovery mode? You can specifically ask about that in a natural way, so you know about it ahead of time.
Yeah, you should. And this will kill a deal. Like, this is a deal killer. I mean, 9 times out of 10, like, I'm not here to break up, you know, I'm not here to ruin the relationship with Tom and Don, right? Like that's not what I'm going to do here. So, and I'll identify that. I'll say, look, communication, super key in a relationship, whether it's business, spouse, whatever. You need to have communication. I'm on your team with that. Like, let me be clear here. I don't really want you to get started without that buy-in. So just so you know, yes. And then I'll identify the decision maker. So like, who is it that you need to talk to? Oh, it's your spouse. Cool. What's her name? Oh, her name's Dawn. All right, sweet. Yeah. Well, what do you think Dawn will say when you bring this to her?
Yeah.
Like, identify the decision maker's objections now. And I would say, look, if I was Dawn, like, tell me why, if you're coming in the bedroom and I'm Dawn and we're in the night together and you're like, here's this thing that I talked to you about today. What is Dawn going to say? Like, what's her objection going to be? You know, like, is she going to be fired up? Is she going to be nervous? Is she going to be like, you've done this before and it failed? Like, how's she going to react?
Yeah.
So you can take that, understand that, cater your follow-up to that, have Tom pitch you on the call to acting like you're Dawn, and then bring on Dawn to that next call. Like, I'd say, okay, so I know you need to think about it and talk to Dawn, and I want to empower you to do that. Would you be against her joining our next call and our next discussion Friday at 4:00?
Yeah.
Like, no, right? Bring Dawn into the conversation, empower Tom with what he needs to get Dawn on board.
Yeah.
And that's your goal from there.
Will you do a similar thing to that? I need to think about it and pin down what it is they need to, like, do you have a particular thing you're worried about that your wife would object to, or like, will you go to that place?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going to go. What's Dawn's reaction going to be? Oh, Dawn's going to be afraid to spend the money because Dawn wants a new closet. Okay. Well, can we get your money back in this to do both?
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's talk about that plan. What would that look like? You know? So yes, Brian, absolutely. You need to get to the real objection. And at that point, it's not Tom's objection, it's Dawn's objection, you know?
Yeah. All right. I feel like we need to talk for 4 more hours about objections and sales scripts. Okay. We've taken everything plus a lot more that we've talked about today. And by the way, everybody give a shout out to Will. Everybody give a thank you to Will. If you enjoyed it, if this was helpful to hear through objection handling, put a thank you in chat. A thanks, Will. Good job, Will, in chat. And hey, if you've talked to Will before, let us know in chat if you've had a call with Will and you know him, like say, hey, Will, or something. So we know you know Will. I know quite a few of you probably have chatted with him before. All right. I just put a link. Maybe Bethany, check and make sure I shared that right. I don't remember if I included anyone with a link can view. It looks like Wendy's talked to Will. Luba's talked to Will. Good. A couple of folks that have had calls with Will. So I put a link to a 1-page script. It's just a summary of everything that I taught with a script. And then there is a link at the very top that says objection handlers. You can click it and go to the objection handling notes. It actually goes way deeper than we'll talk about, with very specific talk tracks along the way of how to handle those objections. Now, remember, 3 main things you got to have to get customers, which is the goal of why we're all here. Like, we want clients. We don't really care about sales calls. We don't really care about webinars. We don't really care about subscribers. What we care about is clients coming on, customers buying our product. 3 main things you have to have. You have to attract leads. You have to build trust with those leads, and you have to have a simple way to monetize them. What we walked through today was a simple sales script and objection handlers of if the way you generate clients is getting on the phone, you can use that. You can also take that and use it in other ways as well. So as a company, what we sell is one-on-one coaching, where we quite literally go into the muscle fibers of your business, create a plan from scratch for you, tailor your offer, your avatar, your vision, and your goals, just like we've kind of talked through to some degree today for you. If you're interested in that, if you want to talk with us and you're interested in that product, interested in us coaching you, just put interested in chat, and we'll follow up with you and schedule the time for us to chat and go through this. Here's how it works. For those of y'all that don't know, we might share this occasionally because a lot of people don't know what we actually sell. So we sell coaching that helps you grow your business. There's 4 main pieces to it. Now, I kind of alluded to this earlier in our script. Pillar number 1 is a 7-figure roadmap. We make your offer, your avatar, your marketing plan, your all the details you need to actually grow the business, and these step-by-step mechanical pieces to get customers. Then we give you expert training. We literally give you our internal marketing playbooks that we run so you can execute those. Pillar number 3 is unlimited coaching. You have unlimited direct access to us via email, via Zoom, and via a little chat thing where you can talk about us if you prefer that. And the pillar number 4 is our Inc. 5000 Mastermind, where we match you up with other businesses at the same spot as you, surround you with them so y'all can hold each other accountable, workshop your businesses together, and have us coaching you at the same time. We found that combination works really well. So if you're interested and know more about that, if you want us to help you execute your strategy call, put it together, make sure your offer's right that you're selling and grow your business, I'll put a link in chat because this is kind of a long, ugly link. I'll just put it here. You can go to that page, click a time. You'll probably talk with Will or Drew on this call, and they'll walk you through what it looks like. John, but I don't have the money. Fantastic. I love it. Yeah. So go to that link. I put it in chat. We'll mention another time throughout. We had a little bit more to go. But yeah, we'd love to chat and learn more about you. All right. So coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll get Ali Duzette on. Thanks, Ali, for hanging out with us. We're going to do an interview with her. She sent us an email recently. She's a client of ours. She sent us an email and said, I have gotten so many customers, I had to take my sign-up page down. And we'll walk through what she did in detail, exactly what she did to get so many clients. She literally took her booking page off her website where you couldn't get to it, which is like a great problem to have. So I want to ask Ali a million questions about this. Me and Ali, so I'm gonna ask her a million questions about this and learn, and y'all can be a fly on the wall in the conversation. So I'm going to give you a quick update. We're not going to go super long here since we're a little over time already. Last week, we have a segment every shop talk that's I Need Your Advice. So we spend the first hour me kind of sharing things that are working for us, tests we've done, concepts we've learned so you can apply them to your business. Last week, I asked for your advice. I said, we have an SMS list, a text list of like a lot of people, but we don't really do anything with it. So we brainstormed around for 10 minutes, different ideas and different things we could do. And we did some stuff. I did not do anything. Ben and Bill, who aren't here, did some stuff. I'm going to just give you a quick, like 1 minute run through of what we did and a little update on it of kind of how we're thinking about it. So take a picture of this. You can read it in detail, but basically Bill and Ben outlined a 10-part SMS sequence to send to, they started with a group of 1,000 people. So just segmented off a group of 1,000. And they're running them through a 10-part SMS sequence. And the first SMS is, you can read it here, join my 10K challenge. I'll show you how to create an additional $10,000 in your course of coaching business in 5 days. 1 training video each day. Starts January 24th. Reply, I'm in. So it's kind of a super cold list that we haven't really maintained much at all. So the first thing is like, we're doing a thing. Do you want it? And if they say I'm in, we then opt them in and send them the rest of the messages. And each message each day is a video lesson. And we just found these in the archive. I think we found them on our Facebook page. And it's just different things that people in a course and coaching business, our best fit clients would want help with. And it's good training. So we drip one of those out each day and intersperse call to actions throughout the text messages and on the pages that they're on. So I think the numbers, Ben, you can correct me if I'm wrong. We sent it to 1,000. I want to say 60 or 70 people replied I'm in. And I don't know if we got any bookings yet. It's pretty early. I think we just started this on Sunday. So we'll give another update next week of kind of how it's coming along. I think the idea was send it to a small batch, see how they do, and then run bigger batches of people through it and see how they perform over time. So that's kind of what we came up with to do with that list. And we're definitely still taking suggestions on things to do. So maybe next week we'll do a brainstorm and a little more thorough update on how this performed so far. But wanted to tie the loop up on that because that's the thing y'all gave us ideas on last week. So thank you. Okay. Let's see. We're going to skip this for the second day in a row. All right. So this is officially the end of Shop Talks an hour. Stick around though, if you want to. We're going to spend the next 15 to 30 minutes talking to Ali Duzette. Ali, feel free to unmute and turn your camera on. Ali is a client of ours and had some really cool stuff happen recently. And I just want to interview her, find out the details of how it happened, what she did. I gave you a little blurb earlier. She got so many customers within a couple of months that she had to take her sign up page on her website down. And I think she put it back up. I went and checked her website out earlier. So anyway, if you don't want to stay for that, that's fine. If you do, you can have a chance to ask Ali questions and kind of dig into the weeds of her business. And we'll just go as long as it takes to fully pull out of Ali's brain everything she did. So Ali, hi, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Hold on, I clicked the wrong button here and my whole screen just disappeared. So let me give you a quick intro to Ali. And I want to dig into some of the details of this before we even get to the big win you've had, Ali. So Ali sells coaching at aliduzette.com. Maybe Bethany, if you don't mind, put that URL in chat so people can go to it and check it out because we'll refer to the website several times throughout. And Ali, correct me on any of the details of this if I get it wrong. You help people deal with trauma, and you sell group and one-on-one coaching. So I want to know way more about that before we even get into your sales win. So maybe at a high level, what problem do you solve in your company?
Yeah, my number one obsession in my whole life is pain. I think about it every day. My clients, the pain of my clients is what drives me, and I think about it every moment. And all day long, as I'm working with my own past trauma and like my past issues of my life, I always realize, because here's the thing, I've worked with so many people now, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients. A couple of years ago, I realized, oh my gosh, everyone has the same problems. Like any problem I have, everyone else also has it. Not everyone, but tons of other people. And so as I'm going through my own journey of, healing myself, I take my clients along on the ride. And so I have a big email list, and I just keep them posted with what I'm up to.
Yeah.
And typically, sometimes up to 3 times a week, but often, I mean, it ranges between a couple times a month to a couple times a week. I'll do a group class on whatever I'm working on in my own life, and I do it by donation.
Yeah.
I have high ticket. I have, my $3,500 course, but a lot of my stuff is $10. It's $15 with an option. If they want to pay $100, they can, and some do. And so I have, a couple times a week, I'll have kind of weekly coaching on these different things, and it's a pretty wide range of topics. But I'm a researcher. I have a degree in the hard sciences. People know that when they work with me, I'm going to give them both scientific material and philosophical material, and they really appreciate my insights. And so, and for $10, they're like very happy to pay $10 to show up.
Yeah.
And so I have been able to kind of branch. I have a lot of people that I work with that can only afford $10, $15, but they're doing it every week. And so it really adds up. It doesn't feel like it adds up on their end, but it does.
Yeah. Okay. So finish this sentence. I help people solve fill in the blank.
I help people solve their emotional and physical pain and answer the questions that they have about whatever's going on in their life.
That's good. And who would you say your best fit client is? Like, who do you love working with the most? If you could photocopy them over and over and over again, you would unlimitedly.
Oh
You would a lot.
I'm crazy about all of my clients. I will
Yeah.
say 85% of my client base is female. It's a pretty even spread between the ages of 30 and 70. Like
Okay.
it's about 25, 25, 25 in each decade with the little outskirts on the ends. But I don't know. I love all of them. Lately, since I did this interview that we're going to talk about, I have had a huge influx of men because a man interviewed me. And a lot of times people, when they're introduced to my work, they're like, that sounds kind of weird, especially men. But having a man interview me and take it all seriously, I've had weeks now. I also am an astrologer. And so I do astrology readings and then intuitive healing work. And I've had numerous weeks now where all of my clients have been men, no women, just men. And it's been interesting because, my prices are high for my personal sessions. My group sessions are by donation. My personal time is more expensive. And so it's been these men that are, these like wealthy men that and they're like the kind of more on the uptight end, but they're just really interested now about astrology because of this interview,
Right. That's fascinating. So I want to talk about the interview in a minute. Let's go to the product layer. You have the donation stuff for your group training. That's one bucket. You have your main $3,500 premium product. What's the revenue split between the two, percentage wise, over the course of the last, say, 12 months or so?
Oh my gosh, over the past 12 months. So I've had like my own hangups about selling my like big expensive product, And so I don't advertise it. Usually to get access to it, you have to ask me directly. And then I talk to you and see if you're a good fit. and then I'll allow you to pay me,
Yeah.
And so it's been something that's hard to do. So proportionally, not a large slice has
Yeah.
been that.
Yeah. So
But
what's the majority of revenue? Is it the group donation based stuff, or is there something else in the
it
middle?
is. The bulk
Yeah.
of my revenue comes from by donation sessions, and
Yeah.
it's just small, $15 here, $25 here, $40 there, and it just adds up. And then of course my personal sessions, cost a lot more, but the bulk of my income comes from these like little tiny things, and I just do a
Mhm.
lot of them, and I have a lot of clients that
Yeah.
pay. So
So personal sessions are different than the $3,500 deal, right? There's like a middle
yeah, the
ground. Okay.
$3,500 deal. So I'll just tell you a little bit
Sure.
about my work. So, I have a background in the hard sciences. I studied soil chemistry. I was and am very religious. And one day, I would say my third eye just opened and I could see like chakras and auras and all that crazy
Mhm.
stuff. And I thought, oh my gosh, am I completely insane? But I was like, I know I'm not insane. I'm like extremely smart. So this is weird. And I just said, okay, we'll see what happens. And so over the years, I kind of like we were talking about in our CEO book club, where in that book, he said to document what you're learning. And I was obsessed, and I did document everything. And I had a blog, and people would find my blog looking for these same search terms that I was looking for. Because I say, I can't find anything on this. I'll write a blog post about this. So anyway, I do personal healing work using these talents that I have. And then I also teach this $3,500 class on how to open up your own abilities to do the same thing.
Yeah. Gotcha. So revenue split, let me say back to you what I think I hear. Revenue split between donations, the one-on-one sessions, which are kind of one-offs, and the high-end program is like 60%, 30%, 20%, something like that.
Yeah, well, that's probably about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So let's maybe go in. So you recently did a partnership with a YouTube channel. And you said the results of that, I think you mentioned the guy interviewed you, the results of that nearly doubled your monthly income. So and it gave you so many clients, I'm guessing in the one-on-one stuff, the one-on-one sessions, it sounds like, that you had to like shut the whole thing down because there were too many people. So several questions there. I'll start with, what was revenue before and what was revenue after per month, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah. So last year and the year before that, a bad month was like 25,000. A good month was like 38,000. Like I would be like, oh, 38. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
These days, since that interview, which was only in November, so it's been 2 months, but I just actually pulled it up on my big classes hub. I have a website called allieduzetclasses.com, and I really like the back end of it. It's through MemberVault. Let me find it.
Member Vault, you said?
Here. Yeah, it's called MemberVault.
Okay.
MemberVault. Anyway, my past 30 days has been 59,000 and change.
Okay.
So we
That's
went
awesome.
from about an average of like 30,000 to about 60,000. And that was true for December. That's true for now. I know I've about doubled.
Yeah.
And so it's, and that's just the donation stuff. That does not even count the one-on-one stuff.
Yeah.
That is 60,000 a month in just people spending $5 here, $10 there, $25 there.
That's a lot of $5.
It is a lot of $5. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, and so I opened up my big class at the end of December and beginning of January. So that also played a big role in that, because then all of a sudden people are paying like, the 3,000 at a time. And so that did increase that a lot. But even before I had opened that, I had already made 50,000 in December.
So what did you do? What did you did a partnership with a YouTube channel? What does that even mean? And how did that grow the business by 2x from one partnership? I love partnerships. That's super abnormal to happen. So walk through what happened there.
Yeah. So I think the reason why it did have such an abnormal impact on my own growth was because it was exactly the target audience. It was exactly the group of people 100% that, and so what happened was, I love what you do, because it really, doing my work with growth tools has really shifted my perspective, where I had been thinking, okay, I need to reach more people. I need to reach more people. How am I going to reach more people? And now I come at it from, how am I going to teach more people? This isn't about me. It's about this message. How am I going to reach the right people with the right message? How am I going to teach this message?
Yeah.
And so what had happened was, I am an astrologer, and I had been noticing some different patterns that were going on, and seeing how they show up like politically and kind of nationally and globally. And I decided that I was going to make a big video about it. So I did. And then I made this video, and I thought, who could really use this is this YouTube channel, these people that I thought, oh my gosh, their audience would love this information, because the people that run this channel had found an earlier video that I did and shared it with their audience, and their audience loved it. And so I thought, okay, well, they've already found me organically. I bet we would have a great time if I just actually sat down with them and had a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of skipped out on the whole formal, like, write them an email, blah, blah, blah. I just went on Facebook and I just texted them on Messenger, and I said, hey, I just did this big video, and I really think your audience would love this message. I think that your audience and my audience would have a great time if the three of us just sat down and had a talk about all of this information. And I think it would be this mutually beneficial thing. And I think it would be totally fun.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh my gosh, that sounds super fun. Yes, let's do it. And so we just sat down to go and have some fun and talk about these things that we both thought, oh my gosh, our audiences are crazy for this topic, and they're crazy for us, and we're going to have a good time. And so we did. And one thing that I learned from growth tools is about this concept of like the shoulder, where like
shoulder niches. Yeah.
Shoulder niches. Yeah. So it's like a shoulder niche. Like, astrology is not my main gig. Like, I love it. I'm good at it. I teach about it a lot. But most of my work is healing work for like physical body problems. And so I didn't talk about that in that interview, but it's a shoulder,
Yeah.
when you start understanding what's going on in the world as a whole, and you start realizing how it affects you personally, having that interview, I was able to kind of bring that perspective to their audience. And that's when they were saying, oh, okay, like all these things that didn't make sense in my life, now they're making sense. And now I think I need to talk to you about what else do I need to do? Like, what can I do to help heal myself?
Yeah.
And so I loved it as well, because it was like this perfect example of that shoulder niche of talking about a completely different topic than what I normally do, but it still hit all the right notes and brought me the right people.
What's their topic?
They are a scripture blogger. They're like Christian scripture people, and they just read scriptures, and they just talk about it. It's a husband and wife, and they go on there and just talk about the gospel and just
That's
like
amazing. So
the
Christian Bible people invited the astrologer on to share. I gotta watch this interview.
Exactly. It was amazing. Well, and that's the thing, is that it caused quite a controversy, because like I consider myself a Christian and a devout one, but a lot of devout Christians also feel like astrology is evil and all of this stuff. And so it caused this like big uproar, but it turned out to be even better. Like, as they say, is there any bad publicity? Like, no. And so all of the uproar just ended up being for the greater good, and it brought me even more people. So so it was kind of like this beautiful thing. It was a little stressful to go through in the moment, but it worked out perfectly.
Okay, so you do the interview. Is it a live, or is it recorded and then posted to their YouTube channel?
We did it on Zoom and pre-recorded it, and then they uploaded it.
Okay. And then what happens? You upload it. I'm on their YouTube page right now. And by the way, I put a link to the interview in chat. You save it for later to watch, but you can go check out the page. They have 10,000 subscribers. So it's a, small, moderate sized channel. It's not crazy. You message them on Facebook, like, hey, I got this thing and you've shared things in the past. We should do this. They say yes. You could do a Zoom interview with them. You have a little bit of concert, like seemingly not totally mixed topics, but you found a cool angle to it where they would be interested in it. They upload it. It's got 13,000 views, which again, not a ton of views, honestly. It's not like going super. It doesn't have 4 million views or something. 13,000 is very much in the realm of reasonable with a small YouTube channel that's been around a couple of years. What happens? They publish it. What happens to you? Maybe I'll ask two parts. What happens, and then did you do anything in the interview to send them to your site, like to generate action? So maybe go whatever direction you want on those two questions.
Yeah, so they put up their site, and so here's a misunderstanding that I had, because I am not a religious viewer of their site. Like, I don't watch YouTube. I don't like videos, actually.
Yeah.
So like other people had been saying, oh, I watched these people, they would be a great fit for you, and like, oh, the mom shared this message from your YouTube channel, whatever. And so what happened was they put it up, and I didn't realize that they weren't like professional people or something like that. And so I kind of like assumed they'd like put up my link and everything, and I sent them all the stuff to put up. I don't know that they did actually put it up.
Put it up where? Where are you talking about?
Just on their YouTube, just like on the little, the underlying.
Oh, maybe it's like unlisted or something. We could see that, I think.
Yeah, like the little, like the description of the video. I don't think it has the link to me at all.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It says Zoom with our friend Allie, and there's no description. So there's no hard link for you.
It literally has, it doesn't even have my last name. It literally has like almost.
It does have your last name now, and it's spelled correctly, which I misspelled it 3 times a day. So that's.
Yeah, good. So.
But not optimized at all. Oh, actually, hold on. No, that's. Oh, they put like the first comment they pinned has a really long link to a JPEG, a local JPEG, so it doesn't even work.
Yeah,
So,
they're like the cutest couple.
Yeah.
The first time they shared my thing, they literally wrote my name on a piece of paper, and they were like, Google Allie Doucette. I'm like,
That's amazing.
It was so cute. I know. I was like, oh my gosh. When they did that back in August, on my birthday, actually, but they didn't know that it was my birthday. Happy birthday, Allie. I had a huge influx of clients at that point. People did Google and find me. And so this YouTube video, you can see it's not optimized, and you can see the comments. I haven't checked the comments recently, but before it was all stuff that was like, how can I get in touch with her? How can I get in touch with her? And at first I was saying like, oh, like this is my email, or like come to my website, blah, blah, blah. And then I stopped because of this big controversy, and because they are a religious channel, people were saying, oh my gosh, you're advertising for people now, like, ugh. And so I kind of stopped, but it didn't matter because I still had so many new clients. I gained 1,000 new members to my Facebook group in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I had so many bookings for my astrological readings because previously I didn't have a scheduler. I would just have people order it, and then I would just write it down. I would do written ones, and it became out of control. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I write down all of these readings, it will actually kill me. Okay. So I shut it down. Now I have a new booking link that has a scheduler on it, and I've like severely limited when people can book me. And then I contracted with 3 other astrologers that I either trained with or trained myself. And they pay me a fee every time they get a booking there. And it's been a good like win-win, but I still get messages pretty regularly from that interview where people are saying, I just saw your interview.
Wow.
And I desperately want a star chart reading. Can you just let me know when you reopen? Yeah. And so I'm like, yep, get on my email list. I'll send it out when I figure it out,
What's the price point for the reading?
It has been $400. Yeah. I've been thinking about raising it. It's been interesting because I feel like when I do a reading, I just want to like dig in and like go crazy in there. And for me, like 90 minutes is a good time frame for that. Yeah. But I have 5 kids and I don't have a nanny yet. And so I've been like, even though I could obviously afford one, so I just have to do it.
Get yourself a stinking nanny, Allie.
I know, I need to get myself a nanny.
You doubled your revenue, get you a nanny.
I know, that's what I have to do so that I can have more time for this.
Hey, I got some good job descriptions and scorecards. Just email me and I'll send them over to you. You can use it to post.
Oh, perfect.
Seriously.
Yeah, that's what I need to do. It has to happen. But yeah, as soon as the thing is, now I have no trouble ever booking. Like people, yeah. I had my assistant shut down, a couple weeks when I was like, oh my gosh, I will actually die. Right. And people are going they're booking out in March, they're booking out in April.
Mm.
Just because there's an opening there that my assistant neglected to close. So they have to
Yeah.
click through several screens to get there. So it's been really, really good. Yeah.
So
and
90 minutes, $500. How many did you sell in the week or two after the interview went out?
Oh my gosh. So at first it was different. Right now my sessions are an hour for 400.
Yeah.
And but I think it's too short. But that is the average time for an astrological reading.
Also
So
double the price like tomorrow.
All right. Yeah. make it
Seriously.
$1,000.
That's
It's
for real.
true.
Like double the price. You don't really want more people. So just double the price. And if people come, you'll be more excited. I mean, that's what I did on my coaching when I first started. It was $100. And then I was full and it was $200 and $400 and $500 and then $1,000. And then eventually went to $5,000 for one-on-one call. And people kept buying. I'm like, well, I just keep raising the price and because you have like shut it off, or you have raised the price so much that you would be excited about it. And that you could, because that's like the mechanical control on it. You raise the price and only so many people are going to buy at that price point. But I mean, yeah.
That's a good point. That is a good point. Well, and
Because those rich white dudes, like they'll pay you $5,000 to go to an astrological reading. And you can decide if you want to discount scholarship other people, but like those, like just at those higher price points, you'll get different demographics, you'll get different kind of people, but you'll get more what, like some people will pay you that for it. And it's either that or don't charge. And you can be the judge of that, but pricing is a whole interesting topic we should talk about at some point. But like, especially when you get overloaded in coaching and one-on-one fulfillment, you can close or you can raise price to where you double, triple, quadruple revenue because you take 1/5 of the people, but you make 2 or 3 times as much. The numbers get really interesting. And I've seen it firsthand so many times now that pricing is one of the most fascinating topics with a business that's moving like yours.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. No, that's true. And I thank you for that. When it comes to how many people booked from that time, I mean, by the next week after it was out, I'd probably gotten, when I shut down my first booking form, I probably had gotten 10 to 15 orders. And because I didn't have a good way to set it up, and a written one that I write myself can take me 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like that is a lot of work. And so I shut it down, and then I reopened this new system where it's a scheduler and we're going to do it live so that there's an absolute cap. And I'm not going to spend 4 hours writing down something for you. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to look at it on my screen. I changed that up and then got, I don't know, maybe like 20 more. And it doesn't sound like tons, but it like really is.
I mean,
When that's not even my main gig. Like
that's
that's not what I do. My actual job is my intuitive healing work, So like, I'm like, okay, my little side gig just exploded, So
I mean, yeah, that's especially if you think about it, like here's the equivalent I'm thinking. I know we're getting to off interview, but just brainstorming to some degree. If you think about it, you have a ton of demand for a super custom like evaluation. That's the category. Like I'm not in your space. I'm not doing astrological reasoning for people, but we do something very similar for the business, meaning you come in, we ask you 200 questions and we make a plan. It's kind of the same mechanics. And you can do a 1 hour version that kind of sucks, or you can do a 2-day version that maybe changes their entire business. And you can't charge $500 for that unless you're just starting and you get really low demand and you just need to get the wheel going. Great, lower the price down. But I would not be surprised at all if you could charge several $1,000s for those. Train people if you want to do that. We haven't gone through supervision conversations on this particular product, but I can easily envision you having a handful of people on the team that just do this, and you train them in your methodology for doing it, and you sell it for a premium price point. But it is a premium product. And you could always do the 1 hour version too, but that's like a different thing. But the 4-6 hour version that needs to be done, that's the really good version that needs lots of hand holding. Like you can't do that on scale. Now, if you did 1 a month for 10 grand, you'd probably do it. Or 2 a month for 5 grand, you'd probably do it. And I'm saying, I think you can do that.
I think I could. I mean, absolutely. I have clients that would just throw money at me if I would accept it,
Sure.
for my time. For several years, I've been selling my time in increments of half an hour. So that this has been another issue with it, is that an astrological reading, I was doing 90 minutes, and I'm doing an hour for like 400, but I've been doing $400 for 30 minutes of intuitive healing work.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of this, I've had to kind of wrap my mind around it. But one of my friends said, Allie, you should just have a business where people pay like $2,000 and you take them out to lunch for 3 hours and you solve all of their problems. They're like, you know what? I can solve a lot of problems in 30 minutes. If I had 3 hours, we could solve a whole lot of problems. It would be a great monetary deal for them and I would love it. Maybe that's what I need to do. Just
Well, let's jump back to this interview real quick. One of my favorite comments in the comments of the YouTube is, I can't say that, Dark Winter Prepper. Amazing YouTube name. Anyway, this person said, please bring her back monthly. The combination of her knowledge, knowledge and B.R. Palmer scripture insight was a match made in heaven. The part I focused on was bring her back monthly. So maybe a question for you is, this was a smash hit. It's grown the audience. It's doubled revenue. It sent you more clients than you can actually handle. What happens next? What do you do? What's your plan over the next 12 months for partnerships and business growth?
Yeah. Well, so the first thing that I've had to do is obviously figure out how to manage my business and my personal life with just the small amount of growth that just happened from this. Again, 1,000 new people in my Facebook group. My email list has grown by about 1,000 people. I've gained about 1,000 new clients in my member vault. And just that was so many more new people that I couldn't do anything else. I was like living, breathing astrological sessions and my personal healing sessions, because those exploded as well. We didn't talk about that, but I had to shut down my booking link for that because I was getting dozens of those and they're only half an hour, but when you have 5 kids, it's like a lot, you know? And so, so step one has just been find the nanny.
Right.
A real find the nanny. Found a maid, got that part done.
Yeah.
I have 2 personal assistants, but I need to like sort it all out much better.
Yeah.
So step one has just been like consolidate. And I've been so grateful that I had this kind of growth first. It was a big leap, but not a huge leap. And
Yeah.
I have some big interviews scheduled for later this month. I have an article coming out in another magazine that is my exact niche, that serves 30,000 subscribers. And so that's coming out in March. So I have a bunch of things coming out soon. Right now, my real goal has been pacing. And then I do have, I mean, the nice thing about astrology is stars are always up to something, you know? And so I will probably be reaching back out to them about some big stuff that's coming up in February. And then other than that, you know, I've just been taking it a step at a time. I don't need to grow my audience right now. I have enough clients, but the issue is for me, it's not about money. It's about reaching the right people, teaching the right people. And so that's the thing. Like I could stop marketing at all. And just in my payment plans, I have no worries. Like financially, my family's set. It's not about money. It's about how am I going to bless more lives today? How am I going to reach the right people? And so that's the thing where I'm just plugging away slowly but surely and making sure that every week I'm at least having it on the back of my mind. Who's the next person that I need to connect with? Who's the next group of people that I need to reach with this message?
Allie, you're one of my favorite people, favorite clients I've ever met, and we haven't met in person yet. We actually we had a team summit where like our whole team gets together at the end of the quarter. And we go for like 4 hours, and literally the last thing we did was played your 7-minute video that you recorded and sent to us. And we all like clapped at the end that you weren't even there. So we're all Allie fans. I have a million more questions, but we're at time. So I'm going to call it. Thank you so much. We are rooting for you. We're walking beside you as you go along. Definitely reach out to me if you want some nanny job descriptions or anything like that. We've hired one and it's great. And we've passed them out to several people. But thank you so much for taking the time and sharing everything. We'll post links to your interview and your booking form. People want to check it out, just how you mechanically do that. The interview is the one I'd recommend everybody go listen, because what I would boil down and pull out of this is the secret sauce of finding a shoulder niche and a topic that's just tailor fit for them. And some magic took over. Like you can't reproduce that magic if you want to every time. That's impossible. But if you go and do what Allie did and you show up and you go do an article and you go do an interview and you go do another interview, and just show up every day and ship, like really cool stuff like that just happens eventually. And if you do some of the things Allie did, like you can speed up the process. So anyway, thank you, Allie, so much. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on and sharing with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was a delight.
All right. See ya. All right, folks, thanks for being here today. We're at 4:30, which is hard stop time. We skipped over several slides from last week too, so we're going to push them forward to next week. We got some cool recommendations and some other updates to share, so we'll maybe start next week with that. But same time, same place, Tuesday of next week, whatever that date is. I think it's February the 3rd or something. What's the date? Yeah, February 2nd. Same time. Look forward to seeing y'all. We'll send out a few emails with the topic for next. I think next week we're talking about offers. We're talking about how to create your offer and structure it in a way that's incredibly compelling so that when you get on a sales call, whenever you do an interview like Allie did, and people come to your site and people talk to you and people see your sales copy, they just want the thing that you have. Like if you have a sucky offer, it doesn't matter how great your interviews are. It doesn't matter how great your lead gen is. People don't buy. If you have an irresistible offer, that attracts people. That's an attractant of its own that generates word of mouth and generates leads of its own. So next week in the workshop, we're going to walk you through how to create an irresistible offer and give you several examples and a template you can follow to do that. So until next week, y'all have a good one, and we'll see you on next Wednesday. See y'all. Bye.